think we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for coming tonight. Appreciate you being here. It's nice to see all the parents and all the students. Some students here willingly, some not willingly, I'm sure. As I saw their faces when they came in, I can tell whether they want to be here or not. So again, we thank you for coming. We wanted to create this night. We started this night last year because we feel like the transition between 10th and 11th grade is such an important one. It's like when you come in from 8th grade to 9th grade, that's a big deal. Coming into high school and there's all new stuff to learn. And then you're kind of getting settled in, and it's like 2 years to kind of do think about your prerequisites, those things that you just need to get done, 9th and 10th grade. And then it's that next big transition in from 10th grade to 11th grade. And we're going to talk about tonight about why that's kind of such a big deal and why there's so much information out there. We just found that we were talking to so many people individually, and we love to talk to people individually, but we were having so many of those conversations that we said, you know what, let's just bring everybody in here and we'll give them all the information at once, and maybe that will help. And so we started this last year, and we had a good turnout. We have a good turnout again tonight, so I appreciate you guys all being here. Just by way of introductions, my name is Mike Pace. I'm one of the counselors here. I am your student's counselor if the last name is between L and Z. With me tonight, we've got, I'll start on the left over here, is Jen Miller. She is our college and career counselor. You will get to know her in the next couple of years as you start making those post-high school decisions. In the middle there is Brian Kimber. He is the other alphabet counselor. He has the last names A through K. And then we have Josh Johnson, our associate principal. And Andy Schoonover, our principal, is around here in the building. He's got his little one with him, so he'll be coming in to join us in a little bit. All right, but that is just by way of introductions. So kind of how the night's going to go, we're just going to kind of tag team and take turns talking about some different things that you need to know as sophomores looking into your next 2 years, being juniors. And as I see on the presentation, Brian is up next. I'm going to let Brian go.
Yeah, well, thanks again for being here. I will point out the light situation here because some of you might be thinking it's a little dark. It's not mood lighting, but actually we kind of have encountered some lighting issues today, so it's kind of funny. I'm looking where the sections that are lit there, where they are, and people are very strategically sitting at them. So we appreciate your flexibility there. We're trying to work with it. So anyway, so I'm going to cover a few things here, beginning with, if you've ever heard me present here at all, I feel like I always cover this. Actually, we kind of joke about it. However, whenever we kind of split up presentations, I usually end up with graduation requirements. But I do like to talk about it because I always tell people this is kind of your roadmap through high school. This is going to really dictate what you're doing for all 4 years. You got to plan around these things in order to get that high school diploma. So I am going to go over them again. Hopefully, for most of you, this is just review. But I'm going to go over it anyway, and we'll go a little bit more in depth after this. But the expectation is that with English, students need 4 credits. That's 4 full years of English. You'll be taking that every year you were at Hockinson High School. You need 3 credits of social studies, 3 credits of math, 3 credits of science. You need 1 credit of career and technical education, 1.5 credits of PE, a semester of health, 2 credits of fine arts, 2 credits of world language, and 4 credits of miscellaneous. That's elective credits, basically. So a total of 24 credits there. Over the course of 4 years, the way we have our schedule set up with 6 periods plus focus, students are able to earn 26 credits. So they get to their senior year and say, wait, I'm going to have more than I need. That's totally fine, and actually that's a good thing because it means you're passing your classes. So as you see under fine arts and world language, there's the little asterisk at the after the 2 credits there. That is something that's relatively new. A couple years ago, the state changed the graduation requirements, and actually this is the first graduating class this year where all of our students at Hockinson High School are on the same grad requirements now, which as counselors, that's a very exciting thing because we're not trying to juggle 2 sets of graduation requirements. But The difference being the fine arts and world language there, we used to just require 1 credit of fine arts. We actually didn't have a world language requirement. This is more lined up with what colleges are asking of students for admissions. So this is actually a good thing for students that it's going to line up a lot closer with what colleges, especially in Washington State, but really nationwide, are expecting. But the fine arts and the world language there, some of you might have heard us talk about PPRs or personalized pathways. Students have the ability to substitute up to 1 credit of art and up to 2 credits of world language for this PPR thing, which PPRs are related courses that lead to specific post-high school career or educational outcomes chosen by the student based on the student's interests, and high school and beyond plan that may include career and technical education and are intended to provide a focus for the student's learning. There's a very long sentence basically saying that you can customize your credit requirements a little bit, up to 3 credits worth. So let's say you, for example, you're not planning on going straight to a 4-year school, so you don't need those 2 full years of world language, or that you have other plans that don't involve needing 2 years of fine arts. You can substitute up to a year of the fine arts, or up to 2 years of world language for something else if it pertains to what you're wanting to do after high school, whether that be a college entrance requirement, or taking a class that's going to teach you a skill you're going to use on the job. These are negotiated really kind of individually with us. So if you're wanting to have that conversation, you need to come through us, and we have the paperwork for that. It's pretty simple. But what this is not, I will also throw in there, is this is not a way to just get out of taking another year of fine arts or to get out of taking world language. There has to be a good reason behind it. So. But the credit requirement itself is still the same, 24 credits. We still expect that. Okay, so in addition to the PPRs, there are a couple other grad requirements, or in addition to the credits. These are kind of the forgotten ones from time to time. Students are required to pass the English, math, and science state assessments or approved alternatives, which that will only apply senior year. So we're talking about the Smarter Balance assessment, which all sophomores will be taking this spring. So that'll be a new thing this year. It is a state requirement to pass those tests as part of the couple of things that we require for graduation. The science one is kind of a new one, and I believe it is our current juniors that's our first class that actually needs that. So this is a relatively new thing. It's called the WCAS. Some of you may have heard of it from your science teachers, but it's the Washington Comprehensive Assessment of Science. This is the latest and greatest thing from the state of Washington it's becoming a requirement. So none of those assessments have come up yet, so don't be freaking out yet. You will get opportunities to retake those tests if you don't pass them the first time. And like it says, there are state-approved alternatives once you get to your senior year if you're not able to pass the test. So we work with you individually if that is you. Okay, so there's the testing requirements, and then there's the high school beyond plan, which Jen Miller will talk about in just a little bit. So I'll explain that a little bit more. But for those of you that are students here, you are hopefully familiar with that, either because you've already started it or because we were in your classes yesterday talking about it. So hopefully it's fresh on your mind. And if we haven't been in your class yet, we've been going around just kind of helping you guys with the next step of that. So that's a process that goes over all 4 years of your time in high school. In fact, you may have started it in middle school. Hopefully you did. The last thing is, the last requirement that I just threw on there is complete Washington State history. For most of you, this was done in middle school. If you weren't in the state of Washington, or for some reason you didn't pass in middle school, we have some. Basically, we boiled it down to there's a packet you can do for us here. You don't get high school credit for it, but you meet the requirement of having done that. So those are the big things. Really, I always say to keep it simple, it's credits, testing, and high school beyond plan. Those are the 3 main things. Okay. All right. So what to expect? And we're going to dig a little bit deeper into this tonight. This is a real kind of quick overview of what to expect 11th and 12th grade as you're moving into those years, because there are a lot of new things that are coming up, a lot of choices that have to be made. So moving into 11th grade, classes that all juniors will be taking will be English and U.S. history. So you remember there's a 3-credit social studies requirement, and 2 of those credits are going to come from U.S. History junior year, or one of them will come that year, and then another one will come in CWI senior year. So 2 of those 3 social studies credits are in required classes junior and senior year. Some AP options do open up, and this is what a lot of people are kind of waiting for, is when they can take those AP classes. The AP classes that we'll be forecasting for, I will say that because not necessarily all of these are going to end up running. I would say most of them end up running, but the ones that we're forecasting for are English language and composition, biology, environmental science, U.S. history, and computer science principles. Those are all AP classes year-long. So those will become available in 11th grade. Many students in 11th grade do take the PSAT. That's the preliminary SAT. That is for you see the NMSQT there, that's National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test, so that's part of the 11th grade year as well. That'll be in the fall, usually in the middle of October. There will be the WCAS test. That will be in the spring of junior year, and as well as the state assessment retakes if necessary. So like I said, you're going to be taking Smarter Balance at the end of sophomore year, and if you don't pass one or more of those tests, then you'll have retake options or opportunities your junior year. Moving on to 12th grade, common classes that all seniors will take are English and Contemporary World Issues. And then some AP options available there are going to be English Literature and Composition, so that's the next year of English. Biology, Physics, Comparative Government and Politics, that's an alternative to CWI. Calculus, Statistics, Spanish Language, and Computer Science Principles. And then again, state assessment retakes and alternatives if needed. Senior year, we really do work individually with students on that, because at that point we've identified students that are going to need different things. Like we can use SAT or ACT scores for that state assessment piece there. So we'll work with kids individually on that one. Okay, testing. Yay. So I always feel like I need to do like some kind of a quiz on this, on who can guess the acronym, because there's just so many of them, which is why I decided just to make a slide that defines all of them and kind of let you know what they are, because we end up hearing so many things about the SAT, ACT, AP, SBAC, PSAT, all that stuff, and it's kind of like, what are these things? So the PSAT, I mentioned that already, that's really a preliminary SAT, which the SAT, many of you have heard of, I'm sure, and I'm sure that you've had other kids take them, or you at least know something about it, but that's that's one of those big college entrance exams. Colleges are going to want students to take either the SAT or the ACT. The SAT, I put up here, the Scholastic Aptitude Test. I had to do some digging on this, because some of them you don't really know what they stand for. That's the most recent term there, Scholastic Aptitude Test, but I did learn that officially the SAT stands for nothing. It is just the SAT. So, little piece of trivia there for you. The ACT is the American College Test. That's really an alternative to the SAT. Most colleges, I would really venture to say all colleges will accept either one. It's really just kind of a regional thing. I find on the West Coast, SAT is more common. You get Midwest, you're going to see ACT, and then the SAT is sprinkled out on the East Coast as well. So either one works. AP, that's advanced placement. That's those classes I was talking about, where students they can take those full-year classes, have the opportunity to take a test, and potentially earn college credit at the end of it. The ASVAB, that's the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. Students that are interested in pursuing the military will need to take that. It can also be good just kind of as a career, if students are like, hey, I really just need some more ideas on what might be a good direction for me to go. That is an option. SBAC, Smarter Balance Assessment Consortium, you'll hear us talking about SBA or SBAC. It's all the same thing. That's that state test we do. And then the WCAS, that's the Washington Comprehensive Assessment of Science that I mentioned earlier as well. Okay, so one of the first big things that people, I imagine a lot of you have questions about, is Running Start, because you've seen other people do it, you've heard about it, kind of what's the deal with Running Start. Really kind of the big draw for a lot of people is you can take college classes in high school, and you can get high school and college credit at the same time. And really the big draw for a lot of people is that you're going to get tuition paid for through Running Start. So just to kind of go over what this says, Running Start provides academically motivated students an opportunity to take college courses as part of their high school education. Students may take just one class per quarter or take all of their courses on the Clark College campus, earning both high school and college credit for all completed courses. Classes are offered in person, online, or in hybrid formats and meet at main campus, Columbia Tech Center, or WSUV. And then eligibility process begins in the spring. Students can gain eligibility through their GPA. It has to be at least a 2.75 cumulative GPA, or smarter balance scores of 3 or higher. There's also some information nights at Clark, which we have some flyers here. Some of you may have already gotten one. Clark does information nights. I think they have 3 of them. One of them, I think, actually just happened like a week ago. These are actually really helpful if you're thinking about Running Start, even if you're just kind of on the fence about it, for parents and students. It's from 7 to 8, I think it's about an hour. They usually pack out a gym there because lots of people are interested. But that's a good time to go get just kind of an in-depth look at Running Start from the Running Start staff. Additionally, as counselors, we'll be doing on February 19th during Focus, we're going to do a little informational meeting. We only get 30 minutes, so we really pack a lot in there, but that's just for students. We'll make announcements saying if you're interested, come on down to the library and we'll kind of give you an overview. And we really are just kind of giving a real quick overview of Running Start, but being that it is coming up next year. And that last slide, really just touched on it briefly. There's a lot that goes into it. But students can go part-time, they can go full-time. There's a lot of considerations, some of which, we just picked out some of the big ones. We came up with these. Parents will not have access to grades or professors. This is really a hard one, I find, is that when students want parents to go to bat for them, it doesn't work at Clark. Because students do sign up for college classes. They are treated just as a college student. I'm kind of skipping around here, but it says no special consideration is given to Running Start students. They're seen treated as college students. So when they show up on a roster for a professor, they're just one of the students in the class. So classes are very fast-paced. Typically, if a student takes if they take a 5-credit class at Clark, that is equal to 1 credit at the high school, meaning they're packing essentially about a year's worth of content into 10 weeks. Because there's 4 quarters of Clark, but it really, for us, it looks more like trimesters because one of those quarters is summer. So you're looking at fall, winter, and spring. It is just packed in there. If you talk to any other students who have done Running Start, they will agree with me on that one. Another draw for a lot of students is that they're able to create their own schedules. I give recommendations, myself and Mr. Pace give recommendations as far as what classes students need to take to stay on track for graduation at the high school, because there are equivalencies. But students get to pick when they go to those classes. They can find, a section that meets at 9 a.m. Monday through Friday. They can find one that meets in the afternoon, 2 or 3 days a week for a couple hours. There are online options, which we are generally not very favorable of because we've just seen lots of bad results from that. But it can work really well for some people too. We at least say don't do it in your first quarter or something like that. With careful planning, students can concurrently earn their high school diploma and their associate's degree. We do have people that do that every year. I would say between 5 and 10 people. That does mean going to Running Start full-time. You are not at the high school at all. You're doing all your classes there for 2 years. You're coming here at a minimum 3 times a year to meet with us so we can sign your form saying these are the classes you need to take in order to graduate on time. But apart from that, students, if they go for that track of getting their associates by the time they graduate high school, that means being over there full-time. And, of course, no tuition. Class fees and books are not covered. That's important to note, actually, because that can add up. If you've paid for college books before, you know that they're not 10 or 20 bucks. You're usually looking at about 10 times that. So, and there are class fees with some classes. So those are things to keep in mind. We will go into more depth on Running Start when we talk about it, or you can go to the meeting they have at Clark there. But that's really kind of a brief overview. We work with students. We try and help students plan so that they are getting their requirements done fairly early on, and they're not waiting until the last second to get high school requirements done, because that's stressful for students, it's stressful for parents, it's stressful for us, wondering if kids are going to pass their classes or not. And then the last thing I'll note too is that not all students who are eligible will have the skills to be successful at Running Start. Predictors of success include strong math and English skills, high self-motivation, strong study skills, time management, and self-advocacy. Just because you have a 2.75 does not mean you should do Running Start. Okay, I really want to emphasize that because I've seen a lot of people crash and burn. They actually lowered that GPA down from it was a 3.0, right? Yeah, it used to be a 3.0 and they lowered it to a 2.75, which made me kind of nervous. So I would encourage you, even if you're at a 3.5, if you're higher up, really be thinking about this, do I have these skills? Because the ones that we're listing here, they're very, very important. You're not going to have teachers hounding you like you might in a high school. Professors are going to tell you what you need to do and expect you to do it. So that self-motivation, time management, those types of things are very, very important. There's also kind of a deception that can happen when a student looks at their schedule and says, well, this is great, I only have to be in class for 2 hours this day, so I can just spend the rest of my day working or doing other things. That is not the case. Yes, it is true you'll only be in class for 2 hours, but you're going to have a lot more work to do outside of class. Many students find that they're actually doing more work than they would be in high school. So I don't say that to scare you off. I'm telling you all these things as somebody who did Running Start, and I really enjoyed it. But there are a lot of things to take into consideration. It can be a really good thing, but it's not for everybody. One of the most common conversations that we have with students who are considering Running Start is students who are saying, well, I'm not sure if I want to do AP or if I want to do Running Start. Because with AP, I get to stay at school and have the high school experience. With Running Start, I can get more college credits, work toward my associate's degree. So, and I don't really have a clear answer for you. If you're having that conversation with me, I'm going to say, well, let's weigh the pros and the cons, and you're going to have to come to that conclusion. We're just going to have to decide what is best for your situation. So, Running Start's a great program. I am not going to take too much more time on that, and I'm going to pass it off to Jen Miller.
Hey there, so one of the other options that your students will have next year is AP. Some of you might have already taken AP this year because there is a social studies class that students can take as 10th graders for AP. The AP stands for Advanced Placement. It's a program run by the College Board, so College Board runs AP, PSAT, SAT, so they're the big group that does all of that good stuff. AP classes are college level classes, so they are supposed to challenge students, so your students should be working really hard and they should have homework. One of the things that's nice about AP is it's nationally recognized, so it goes on a student's transcript. They'll have a little A next to it, and colleges know what that means. So one of the things they say when they see a community college transcript is they don't know who taught the class or what the curriculum was, but when they see the A next to AP, they know exactly what the AP curriculum is because everybody in the US is doing the exact same curriculum and taking the exact same test. You can receive college credit in AP, so you take the class and then there's a test at the end of the class. It's optional, so you don't have to take the test if you don't want to. And then based on your score, a college may give you college credit. So that's one of the things with AP is that it's up to the colleges to decide if they're going to give you credit or not. So some colleges might give you credit if you got a 3 on your test. Some might give you credit only if you got a 4. So it really varies college to college. So here's all the different AP classes that we offer here at Hockinson. So you'll see that there's information there for 11th and 12th grade in English, a number of social studies options, math, science, and computer science principles, and Spanish. So lots and lots of different options. We don't expect students to take all of those. So as Brian mentioned, one thing people ask us often is which is better, AP or Clark, or doing Running Start. And it's not that one is better than the other, it's really just finding which one is best for you. So we don't tell students you should do this one or you should do that one. Look at them both and then figure out which one is going to work for you. So we tried to put some unbiased information up there, some pros and cons. I think Brian went through a couple of them already, but so let's start with Running Start. So one of the nice things about Running Start is that you get your credit just by taking the class. So you take the class, you pass the class, you get your college credit. You don't have to take a test at the end like you do with AP. Another thing that he mentioned is flexible scheduling. So you as a student get to create your own schedule, and that can be flexible around your other commitments that you have going on in your life, and you're spending less time in class. You also have that potential to earn the AA at the end of your graduation, so you can graduate from high school and have your AA. Some of the cons, it is very fast-paced. You're going to spend a lot of time outside of class, so again, as Brian mentioned, it moves quickly. They're on a quarter system. You're in class, you're expected to do the work, and then they're going to move on really, really quickly. You can miss out on that high school experience. So when you're doing Clark, you can go full-time or you can go part-time. Some students feel like they miss out on that high school experience, but for other students, that's why they go. So again, it's a personal decision. One thing that people don't always realize is that the schedule, the calendar is different. So we have our Hockinson High School calendar with beginning date, the end date, vacations, Christmas break, all of those things. It's different for Clark College, so that's something to keep in mind as well. And then the last thing up there is some of your credits might not transfer to colleges. So with most Washington State public schools, your credits will transfer, but if you're going to go to a private school or somewhere outside of Washington, your credits might not transfer. So that's going to be up to those individual colleges. Looking over there at AP, as I mentioned, it's a nationally recognized program, so every college knows what AP is, they know what curriculum you studied, they know what they're getting with AP. The other nice thing is that you can stay involved in high school because you're here at high school taking those classes, so you're just here like another student. One of the cons is that you do have to pass the exams and earn that college credit. So again, with Clark, you take the class, you pass the class, and you get the college credit. With AP, you have to take the test, and you have to earn a certain score for that potential to earn the credit. And then that last piece I touched on as well, many colleges require different exam scores. So one college might give you credit if you got a 3 on the test, another college might say, no, you have to have a 4 on the test. So it makes it a little harder to plan out how many credits you're going to get, especially if you don't know where you're going to go to college. If you know where you're going to college, then you can plan that out. They'll post on their website how much credit they'll give for each AP score in class, but it is a little harder to plan out. All right, so another option that will open up next year is Cascadia Tech Academy. So some of you might know this as Skill Center. So they've changed their name a couple of years ago, so sometimes we just abbreviate it by saying CTA. So if you hear us talking about CTA, this is what we're talking about. It's a cooperative with all of the school districts in Southwest Washington, so students from all of those different school districts all go there at the same time. They try to keep their areas that they offer, those different programs, as in-demand programs. So every couple of years, you'll see programs disappear, you'll see new programs come, or maybe they'll tweak a program a little bit, because they want to make sure that they're preparing students for the workforce or for college. So up on the left over there, you can see all of the different programs. The one that I want to point out is fire science, and the only reason I'm pointing this one out is because a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but sometimes students will come to us in May, and they'll say, oh, I want to be a fire cadet, how do I do that? And they didn't realize that it's the fire science program through CTA. So if you're interested in becoming a fire cadet, you do need to go through Cascadia Tech, so keep that in mind. One of the things, there it is. All right, so a couple things to keep in mind. Cascadia Tech, instead of walking down the hallway to your class, you're walking down the big yellow bus, and that's your hallway taking you over to Cascadia Tech for a couple of hours. Transportation is included, so you get on that bus, you go to Cascadia Tech, and then the bus brings you back here. They start earlier in the morning than we start school, so that bus leaves at 7:05 sharp, and then you'll be back in time for focus. So you'll miss first and second period here. You can get industry certifications, so every single program that you see up there will offer certifications within that industry, so by the time a student is done, they can already be well on their way of being certified in different areas. They also offer college credit. This has been huge with Cascadia Tech lately. They have, I can't remember how many it is, but a lot of college credit. Every single one of those programs up there also offers college credit. So it's not just a program for students that are going to straight to work. There are a lot of students that are going to go on to college and have credit on their way. You also get dual credit, so as you're taking your classes there, you'll be earning your CTE credit here. That's your career in tech ed credit, so that'll get taken care of. And then one thing that students really like is that maybe for the first time in their life, they're working with other students that are as passionate as they are about their favorite thing. So that's something that they don't always get to experience here. So that's probably the biggest perk for our students. If you're really into, diesel tech, you can go there and you can be with a bunch of other people that are really into diesel tech. So that's pretty cool. If you're looking at the timeline, we have a tour coming up on February 7th. So if your student is interested and they didn't bring home that permission slip, there's a couple more over there. Go ahead and fill those out, and you can give them to me today or bring them back. And we'll hit that tour on February 7th. When we come back from the tour, I'll have the applications. Students can fill that out, and then we'll go from there. Here at Hockinson, we also have some articulated classes, so that means that if you take any of the classes that you see up here, and there typically are business CTE classes or career and tech ed classes, you can be sitting in class right here and earning college credit at the same time. So that's pretty nice. You just need to make sure that you earn a B, you fill out the paperwork, which they do in class, and then you're earning college credit. Another opportunity that is not as well advertised because it's not something students can really forecast for is something called work-based learning. This is an opportunity for our students to pair what they want to do after high school with some time during school to do that. So you'll see that about 1 high school credit is equal to 2 hours a day on the work site. Students need to be taking career choices at the same time or already have had taken career choices in order to do work-based learning. You need to have prior approval, so that's why it's not something that students can just sign up for through their forecasting sheet. That you really need to go talk to Mike and Brian, and they work that out on a one-on-one basis. So we need to make sure that students are on track to graduate, that they have room in their schedule to do that, and that it's going to be something that will be beneficial for them. It can be paid or volunteer work. We have somebody that's doing this right now who wants to be a teacher, and so she's going down to the middle school and doing her work-based learning there with the middle school. So that it doesn't have to be paid. And then something new this year is that we're requiring all these students to be in school with the work-based learning coordinator for that first week so they can get all their paperwork taken care of and talk about some of those job skills that they'll need. All right, so the CATERS, College Academic Distribution Requirements, these are for Washington State Public University. So all of the universities in Washington got together and came up with some common entrance requirements. They match up with our college entrance requirements, so that's nice. But it's important to know that if you're going out of state or you're going to a private university, that they might have different requirements. So it's not that our high school graduation requirements always match up with college entrance requirements. So that's important to know. Here in Washington, at those public universities, they have also agreed that you need to have at least a 2.0 and then take either the SAT or the ACT to get in. Before I start talking about money, I am just going to mention real quick the High School and Beyond plan. Brian mentioned that. We're working with all of the sophomores this week in class, in their English classes. So we work with some on Tuesday, and we'll work with the rest tomorrow. So if your student hasn't done that yet, we'll see them tomorrow. The purpose of the High School and Beyond plan, obviously it's a graduation requirement, but we really want students to figure out some things they might be interested in while they're in high school, and then they can take classes in high school that will help them decide if, yeah, this is what I want to do, or no, this isn't for me. Both of those are beneficial. And then plan accordingly after that. So it's a working document, students update it every year, and the goal is that they learn how to research different careers and start figuring out what they want to do after high school. If a student does choose to go to college, it costs a lot of money. So just a couple things here about how to pay for college. One is grants. Grants don't have to be paid back, so grants are free money, and we like grants. Work study is also money that does not have to be paid back, so students typically fill out the federal aid financial aid form, and that's how they end up getting work study. And so students work on campus, and instead of getting a paycheck, that money just gets deducted from their tuition. Loans do have to be repaid with interest. There's a number of places you can get loans. I'm not going to go into the detail because that could be a presentation all on its own, but yes, there are loans out there. Also scholarships. So scholarships are also free money. There are a lot of scholarships out there, and typically what I find with students is they get attracted to those big scholarships with $20,000 and $10,000. But the thing with those is that those are national scholarships usually. So students are going up against thousands and thousands of other students across the whole U.S. So a couple of tips that I tell students is first, look local. So ask your bank, your credit union, your parents' employers, ones that we have here around Hockinson, the Foundation, Rotary, Elks. Those are going to be smaller amounts of money, but there's also a smaller number of students that are going out for them. I find that more and more students are asking me about scholarships, but fewer and fewer are actually filling out the applications. So there are a number of local scholarships that we have that sometimes I will have 5 seniors that will go out for, and that's it. So it really pays to look local. Also look at the institutions that you're applying for, so colleges, apprenticeships, different places, they'll have their own scholarships, so look there as well. There'll be some state scholarships, so again, instead of looking nationally, it's another way to pare it down so you're not going up against so many people. And then if you have time and you think you have a good shot at some of those national scholarships, then go for it. Up here, hopefully you're all in Schoology. I have a page called the College and Career Center, and then in the resource section is a big list of scholarships. I update that almost weekly. Most of them are for seniors, but there are some for students of all ages, so I would encourage you to check that out too.
All right, my turn again. All right, I get to talk about our last couple of things, which is things that are important to me. One of which is sports and athletics, and then the other one is just the skills that you need so that you can do all these things and be successful and have all these opportunities. Hopefully, what we're doing is by introducing you into 8th grade and coming into high school that way, we're getting you ready, and hopefully you've had a successful couple of years, because your first 2 years really determine how many of those options that Brian and Jen were talking about are available to you. Whether running start's a good option, or whether Cascadia is a good option, or AP classes are a good option. So hopefully you've taken care of those things the first 2 years that you need to take care of. All right, so we have successful sports teams here, as evidenced by a couple of state championships. I think somebody remember those. A couple of state championships in football. I know Mr. Johnson does. So we have a lot of people who are interested in thinking about playing sports in college. And playing sports in college is a great opportunity for you. And so I want to talk about it, but I want to be realistic about it too with that. So there are lots of options, and I'm going to talk about options, okay? Because if you play a sport, you play it for fun, there's no reason you shouldn't get to have fun at the next level too. A couple of things to think about is that there are different divisions. People normally think about playing sports in colleges. I'm going to go to University of Washington or University of Oregon or one of those, big name schools. I'm going to do that. That is NCAA Division I. That is the largest, most competitive level that you can compete at in college sports. And so that is great for a very few people. But there are also other options, and I want to talk about that because there's more than just that. There's more than just D1, Division I. Things. There's Division II, which also offers sports scholarships. So as Jen was talking about scholarships, sometimes an athletic scholarship is a good way to go and can get you money to help pay for school that way. Sports can be a great way to get part of your college paid for. The other one is Division III, which they tend to be smaller schools, and D3 does not offer sports scholarships, but I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but D3 and then NAIA, which are also a different division of schools, they will put together packages. So financial aid packages that will help you be able to come to their school because they want you to play the sport at their school. And when they recruit you, they will talk not about athletic scholarships, but they'll talk about academic scholarships and some of the things that Jen was talking about. So they will put together that package for you. So those are all kind of the different levels of sports. And then anytime we talk about playing college sports, we always have to talk about the realities because we want to make sure we're being realistic about things. Okay? And so I'm obligated to share this information for you, which is your probability. As you can see, the bars are small. The number of students playing high school sports is huge, And then the number playing at a college level is much smaller, and then the number that go from there is even smaller. I don't know if you can see this, but it says, let's look at boys basketball. 3.4% of high school players will play in college, and then another 1.2% of those will actually get drafted by the NBA. So you see the numbers go way down. But that is not necessarily, that's not necessarily the only thing, because there are lots of different sports. Some people don't even think about these sports. I don't know if you can see this very well, but you can see that female fencers have the best odds of receiving a scholarship. Do we have any girl fencers out there? How many of you kids know what fencing is? Okay, it's not like building a fence, you know, those swords, those kind of things, yeah. I actually had a friend in high school who was a fencer, who was a really good fencer, went national and then international actually. So you have there, and then you can see the different, the blue dots are the males and the females. So what is next to fencing is girls ice hockey, not big around here also. One that was tough for me is I was growing up in high school, I was a volleyball player, and I grew up in this area where there's not a whole lot of boys volleyball, and you can see boys volleyball is the least chance of getting a scholarship for males. So just the realities of the situation if you want to earn actually those sports scholarships. But I want to emphasize this because I did go on to college. I mean, my personal experience is I did participate in some college athletics in several of these ways, on an intercollegiate team and intramural teams. And so one of the things you might want to think about is community colleges. If you check it out, Clark College has sports. You know, we don't necessarily think of going to Clark College as playing sports, but you have Clark College, community colleges, you have junior colleges that have a wide range of athletic activities that you can participate in. If you really want to play your sport at the next level, then think about those things and don't discount those because they're smaller schools. I have a friend who's a volleyball coach up at Lower Columbia College, and she's always posting on Facebook about her athletes who play their 2 years at Lower Columbia and then move on and earn a scholarship and play their last 2 years at a 4-year school. And so that is definitely possible to do that. So community colleges or junior colleges, the sports teams, some of them even get scholarships. I myself, I went and ran track at Clark College, so I enjoyed that. That was a fun college experience for me. And the opportunity to move on. And then there's small schools that you may not have ever heard of. Okay, one of the things that happens is we're a small high school, and so we tend to get small, kind of out-of-the-way colleges that will recruit our athletes because they're just small is attracted to small, is the way it goes. And so what I've done up here is I've listed some of these, and these are all colleges I've got from our current seniors. We have current seniors who are going to some of these colleges, and they're going to participate in sports. Whether it's Carroll College, Southwest Minnesota State is one that I had never heard of before, but we have a boy going to play football there next year at Southwest Minnesota State. Northwestern College of Idaho, St. Mary's in Minnesota, University of Jamestown. Anybody guess where that is? It's in the middle of nowhere in Kansas. So, you knew that? So the girl who was looking at that, they were offering her a scholarship to play softball there. So that is a great opportunity. Don't discount those things. If you're an athlete and you want to play at the next level, don't hold out for those big schools. Okay, not everybody can go to those big schools and compete at that level. Okay, so think about that. One of the other ones, mentioning small schools, one of the things I wanted to mention is, where are they? Bailey's over there somewhere. Okay, I was going to talk about a student I have who is into rodeo. And speaking of small schools, there you are. I knew you were. So it's her brother. By the way, I'm not talking about Wyatt. Speaking of small schools, one of the things that I learned out working with that family is that Walla Walla Community College here in the state of Washington has the #1 rodeo program in the nation. Walla Walla Community College. #1 ranked rodeo program in the nation. So that is something that I just learned. And here you're a small 2-year school that is nationally known for their program. And that is a intercollegiate sport there. Okay? So also if you want to play, if you like to play sports like I like to play sports, don't give up, because you go to college, one of the things you're looking at when you're researching colleges is what is the college life like? What is life like on campus? And one of the things that makes college life worth living there is participating and interacting with other people. And some of the ways you can do that is through intramural sports. Okay? Intramural sports, club sports. Another personal story for myself is that when I was at Portland State University, there was a bunch of us guys who really liked volleyball, as I said. And so we formed our own club volleyball team and found out that there were other universities around. And so we had a club volleyball team, and it wasn't one of those sanctioned NCAA sports, but we had a team and we went to tournaments and competed against University of Oregon and Oregon State and Willamette and Linfield and all those that also had men's volleyball teams. And so that was an opportunity for me to play at that next level, but it wasn't so serious. So that is something to think about. Okay, so that's the sports thing. If you have more questions, you can definitely talk to me about that, or Mr. Johnson, who is also our athletic director. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is how are you successful? Okay, 9th and 10th grade, we're really setting the table for what's going to happen in your last 2 years of high school. Hopefully you were building habits, building good habits, but really as we think about jumping into 11th grade, is almost kind of like when it really starts to matter. Some people have described 11th grade as the toughest year of high school. Okay, you're jumping into, these guys talked about some of those AP classes. Maybe you're doing running start. Maybe you've got more things on your plate because you're starting to be involved in more activities. Junior year, some of you this year, you're starting to get your license. You may be getting a job. So there's a lot happening in your lives. And so we want to keep you on track towards that graduation and all those requirements that Brian was talking about. So we have some opportunities here at school. We want to make sure that we mention these because these are things you need to take advantage of. Students and parents, these are things you need to know about so that you can encourage your students to take advantage of. Right away, the first thing is that focus class. I mean, we are one of few schools that I know of around that dedicates that 30 minutes of just time during your day to get your work done. That's just a privilege. It's a privilege, and it's an added bonus that we actually give you credit for doing it. So that is huge. We have a lot of students who are involved in a lot of activities outside school. And we have some of them who I know if they didn't have that focus time, just even that 30 minutes of focus time, they wouldn't be successful or as successful as they are. So use that time, and we have things during that time. Like one thing is the Learning Center, which we started this year, which is the ability for students to come down to the library, and we have older students who are tutoring in every single subject. We've got science tutors, we've got math tutors, we've got English tutors, we have language tutors, social studies you can get help with. All of that is in the Learning Center. And those are older students, and I talk to kids all the time about sometimes it's nicer to hear it from another student or another teenager rather than an adult. They just are able to speak your language and say things a little bit differently. So take advantage of that. Writing Center, I don't know if you guys know about Mrs. Drindle has some writing tutors in there. If you want to go get help with your writing, whether it's an essay, or maybe even it ends up being a college application in the future. College entrance essay, you want to do that, you can do that. Also a time to go get help from your teacher. Going back to sports again, you know that us being a late start school, some of our athletes will miss 7th period sometimes because we're leaving early to go to an event. That could be anything. It could be a band. Also has to leave early for those things. But coming in the next day, using that focus time to make up, maybe to go see your teacher and find out what you missed. Or maybe you didn't do so well on a test and you need to do a retake test. You can do that during focus. So that is a good opportunity as well. So the other thing we have is what we do, okay? And that is the small group or individual counseling. So please, students use us, parents, contact us. We want to be there for all of you, whether that's on an individual basis. I think Brian mentioned this, but as some of you are maybe thinking about running START, you will be coming in and having individual conversations with us. Maybe coming down the road, like I mentioned, you'll be having a conversation with Mrs. Miller about college and about what it takes and how to apply for a FAFSA and what even is a FAFSA and those kind of things. So that academic, college career, personal, social. I know Mr. Kimber and I love to just talk to students about what is going on in their lives because we realize that the 6 hours that they are here at school, there is 18 more hours in their day where they're somewhere else doing something else. And sometimes that stuff that happens outside school can affect what happens inside school. And so as the school counselors, we want to be there for students. We want to be there for students to help them talk through things, to help them just vent sometimes, just get things off their chest, that when things outside school are bugging them, they can come in and get it off their chest and they can get back to the work they need to do. So we're there for that. We have a intervention prevention person. Bree Eastman is here. And she is great for doing that if we have students who are affected by drugs and alcohol, either themselves or family members or friends, any of those things. She is there, she's running groups and doing some help with that. And then one of the cool things we have is mentoring. And this is something that not many kids know about. I don't think any parents really know about, which is something we call our sticker activity. At the beginning of the year, we do an activity with our whole staff where we have all the names of every student in the school. And we put it out there, and what we have is we have teachers and staff members go through and put their names next to students that they have a relationship with. We have found that student success in school relies a lot on the relationship they have with the adults in school. And so one of the things we'll do is we'll go and we will identify which adults have good relationships with which students. And if we have some students who have 4 names next to their name or they have no names next to their name, then we can do things about that. We can zero in on those students. And so that is one of the things we do. So I want all the students to know that the adults around here care about you, and they want what's best for you, and they want you to do well. And so sometimes all you need to do is reach out, and you'll realize how many of them do. Same thing with parents. Reach out to the staff people, whether it's Brian or I or the teachers. Definitely reach out to us, because we want to help those things. Now, the next thing is, what happens when something goes wrong? Oh no, I failed a class. So I had this, I was talking with a student earlier who was really worried about, oh, I'm going to fail my class, am I going to graduate on time, what am I going to do? Because it's really scary. It is scary. One of the first things I want you to realize is that everybody makes mistakes. Okay? Things happen. Things happen, and that's okay. Okay? So the big thing is don't worry. I really like this quote from Winston Churchill. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. And so we look at that when you're freshman, sophomore year. I mean, parents, you guys remember when you were a freshman, at least maybe I'm the only one who did dumb stuff and made lots of mistakes when I was 14, 15 years old. Okay, but that happens. That happens. We have ways to get around that, okay? There are options. And when I go through some of these options, because maybe some of you are in this boat, I don't know. Okay, one option is you could retake the class. You retake the same semester that you didn't pass before. Every year I have some students who are doing that. They just choose to retake it because they want that face-to-face interaction. Maybe they want to go back to the same teacher. Maybe they want to try the class again with a different teacher. Those are options there. Credit recovery, we do have a credit recovery program. We do that during Focus, where we bring all our credit recovery students into the library, have them sit at a computer because it's computer-based, and then they can work through that class. And then we also are in the library, which is nice because the Learning Center tutors are there. And so we use those. We use those tutors. We bring them over and have them help our credit recovery students all the time too. So it's an online program for credit recovery when you're doing that. We have some students who do it and they come and they only work on it 20, 30 minutes during Focus each day, and it takes them the whole semester or maybe longer to do it. I have had some students who are really motivated and they will finish a class in a couple of weeks, because it's all about how far you get in that actual class, okay? And so that's one option. And then one of the things we want you to do is just, like I said, have courage that that's not the end, okay? Even when you're thinking about college, you're like, oh, college is out because I failed a class, okay? One thing that colleges want to see is colleges want to see real people. We talk about this all the time. Sometimes colleges get almost tired of all the 4.0s and everything that's just the same. They want to see people who have lived life. They want complete people. Jim will talk all the time about colleges are looking to fill out a class with different kinds of people, not just the book smart people. They want people who have learned life lessons. And so one of the cool things is they have that essay part of that where you can explain yourself. you have a transcript that says you failed a class in 9th grade, that's okay. Just say, hey, this was going on, this is the lesson I learned. And now, look at my grades. I did better and better and better. Sophomore year was better, junior year was better, senior year was better. Okay? So you can explain that away. They understand that. Okay? So don't worry about that. Okay, let me go through these things real quick here. We're running out of time. What can you do, students? What can you do to be successful? Okay? First thing, pay attention. Okay? Not just to your teachers, but make sure you pay attention to Schoology announcements. I don't know how many students we've talked to who say they never check their school email, but there's a lot of good things in there, or they do check their school email and realize there's hundreds of emails in there that they haven't seen. Because you'll get stuff from Mrs. Miller about careers, you'll get stuff from your teachers, big announcements. Check those things. Make sure you listen to the newsletters, and students, listen to your parents. I know some of them have been a while since they were in high school, but they've still been here before. Okay? They've still been here before. They can help you. Your behavior, watch your behavior. I mentioned this, get on your teacher's good side. Okay, next year and going into your senior year when you're applying for college, you're going to want recommendations. You're going to want recommendations, and so you want recommendations from those teachers who will say good things about you. Okay? Even some apprenticeship programs and some job things, they want recommendations from teachers, and so make sure you are getting a good relationship with your teachers. Be consistent, don't lose sight, and be organized. Be organized. Don't be like the students who their backpack is a black hole. Things go in, but they never come out again. Okay? And I want to talk about parents. Parents, you guys are here, and that's awesome, because the first thing I have up there is just show up. Be involved. You're here, and that's awesome. I appreciate you being here. Show up to conferences. Show up to their activities. Be a part of what's going on so that you know what's going on. I like to talk about how it's good for parents to not only know what their students are doing, but know who their students are hanging out with, who their friends are. That's always important. Parents, also check all your means of communication. Whether that's Schoology, or whether it's looking in Skyward, whether it's checking your email, reading the newsletter. Jen puts together the newsletter every month, and there's things in there that are really important. What's happening at the school and what's going to happen at the school. So these things are important. And then have conversations. Have conversations. As much as your teenager sometimes refuses to talk to you and gives you one-word answers and just grunts at you when you ask how their day was, those kind of things, still try to have those conversations, and then when they do answer, listen. As parents, every once in a while there will be a little nugget in there of something that happened that was important to your student that you can grab onto. Okay? And then when you're asking them questions, one of the big things, I'm just going to give this as a tip, that I tell parents all the time is don't ask them yes or no questions, because you will get yes or no answers. Okay? When it comes to homework, I tell parents all the time, don't ask them, do you have homework? The answer will almost always be no, whether it actually is or not. So I tell them all the time, I say, ask them, so what homework do you have? What should you be working on right now? The better open-ended question. So keep those lines of communication open. Encourage your child to own their education. Okay? Brian was talking about how at Running Start, once they're in college, you don't have access anymore. And so it needs to start now in high school where they own what they're doing. Okay? So that's just some tips. Oh, and make sure you contact people. We are available and we are here to help. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up. We are going to be hanging out for a few minutes if you want to have individual questions. If you want to give us a call or give the office a call, you can also be making appointments here in the next couple of months. But thank you guys for coming. We appreciate you being here.